Well, good morning, Brian. And frankly, if you read the resolution, it allows, first of all, for Adam Schiff to continue going on behind closed doors, building this false narrative where they leak out certain things to try to mislead people. You talk to people that were in the room and you get a completely different response. And oh, by the way, over 75% of the voting members of Congress are not allowed in that room. Most of the American people don't know what's going on in that room. So they continue that process. And then even if it goes to the Judiciary Committee, which we don't know if it will, but if it goes to the Judiciary Committee, the chairman still has full discretion to deny, to veto witnesses. Veto power by the chairman never has happened before. Didn't happen under Clinton, didn't happen under Nixon. And even the president's legal counsel, by the way, Brian, the chairman has the discretion to kick the president's legal counsel out of the room. Now, if you want to call that a fair process, again, I equate it to Soviet-style justice because maybe in the Soviet Union, they have a one-sided closed doors, behind closed doors secret impeachment process. This is the United States of America. We deserve better than this. Our justice system works a lot different than this.
Congressman, explain this to me, though. We know they're behind closed doors now, and we know behind closed doors, Adam Schiff has said to witnesses, you don't have to answer his or her question. You don't have to follow, so he can jump in there. Can he still do that, number one? And number two, I know we can reject witnesses, but is everyone going to get a chance to question and challenge?
Well, so far, we don't have any assurance of that. And in fact, as you mentioned, just this week, Adam Schiff directed the witness, one of the witnesses, to not answer questions. There were certain questions that were asked by Republicans on the committee. So Adam Schiff still holds full control over directing the witness who can and can't ask certain questions. Again, that's unprecedented. But even the transcripts. Look, we had an amendment yesterday. And by the way, they shut out every single Republican amendment because they didn't want to work in a bipartisan way. But we had an amendment to say that all the transcripts should be released to the public. They rejected even that amendment. So as you can see just how one-sided this is, I'd like to ask any member of the committee, anybody who voted for that resolution yesterday, if they were falsely convicted of a crime, would they want to subject themselves to those kind of unfair rules and processes? You know, we don't just have to talk about process, but that really matters a lot.
Right.
And I think when you talk about what the president said, the president released the transcript of the call. You know, we have all these hearings about what other people might have thought of the transcript, and in many cases, people with a political bias against the president.
Right.
President Trump released the call between him and Zelensky, and even Zelensky said there was no pressure on the call. There was no quid pro quo.
A couple of things.
So that's the genesis of this with the whistleblower.
So Morrison, for example, yesterday said, I didn't have a problem with how things took place, but he did think they were on two separate diplomatic tracks between Rudy Giuliani and Sondland and the others. But having said that, he had no problem with the call. He said the transcript was very accurate, what he remembered took place. So here's what my question to you. Do you believe the speaker when she says, I'm approaching this very somberly, prayerfully? Because I watched her go to a comedy show to talk prayerfully and somberly and get cheers and applause for this action. What's her real mindset?
We know from day one, the day that Donald Trump put his hand on the Bible to take the oath of office, they wanted to impeach him. There were Democrats in leadership in Congress who said they wanted to impeach him without any facts. There were never any high crimes and misdemeanors. There still, by the way, has never been a high crime and misdemeanor they laid out. It's a hope. You know, they had the whole Mueller investigation where they hoped they would find something, and they didn't. There were no charges because there was no collusion or obstruction, and so they keep going on. They hope that there was quid pro quo, but then the president released the transcript, and there was no quid pro quo. And instead of moving on and dealing with things like lowering drug prices, like paying our troops, making sure they have the tools they need, the Democrats won't bring those bills to the floor because they're infatuated with impeaching the president because they're afraid he'll get reelected.
Right.
That's not why you have impeachment.
And guess what you didn't vote on? Part of the package would be aid to the Ukraine, over $200 million, didn't even get voted on. So how concerned are you with the Ukraine if you won't even take up this action? But you had to go do Stephen Colbert last night. Steve Scalise, thanks so much.
Great to be with you. Thanks.